everybody. Get 2 for 1 for today because we're still at the car wash. So James and Tammy, do a short one here. Bully Express says, how can I web chat you, sir? I have a 5-week-old puppy of swimmers. Well, I've got a video on this. Just go and look at the video on taping puppies' legs up. That's what we're talking about. Swimmers is typically this happens about that age. Puppies, you know, maybe 4 weeks. You can start on this, Tammy. You think about 4 weeks for swimmers? Maybe a bit earlier.
Yeah, you can probably do it at, if you, you'll know by 2 weeks, and then the 3rd week is probably when you can start taping it up because they're starting to push up with their little legs.
Yeah, so what you see here is typically you get a, you see this a lot where you've got a mum with lots of milk and maybe a small litter, and that produces big fat puppies because they're getting tons of milk. And they get really lazy and they don't get up on their legs when their eyes have opened up, you know, after 10 days, and they tend to just kind of swim around and never get moving. And the problem with this is that can produce a flat chest. So the way to fix this is to tape their back legs up, and there's a couple of videos I've got specifically on that. And what that does is it forces them to get up on their back legs because they can't swim around anymore. And then very quickly, if you start doing this early, within a few days typically, it fixes the problem.
Yeah, 3 to 5 days.
But at 5 weeks, it might take you longer.
Yeah.
A bit late, not 5 weeks, but you can still fix it. I never have.
And sometimes you'll have mama trying to pull the tape off.
Oh yeah, and the other puppies, especially when they're
Put it back on.
Put it back on.
You'll be happy you did.
And leave it on until it fixes the problem.
And then once they realize that they pull themselves up, they start developing those muscles, and it's just an automatic thing for them when they start standing up.
Somebody's saying, oh, they really like our mobile incubator. It's let them sleep soundly. Okay, good. Well, so Erica Hake says, I have a golden due 15th of September. This is her first litter of my first breeding. And are there any other videos you suggest I watch? Yes, I just did a complete series. Well, I'm in the middle of, beginning parts of a complete series. The A to Z of breeding. We're at part 4 right now, 12. So go look through those. I mean, you're going to have 5-6 hours worth of information we're going to go through. We're already at, I think, 2.5 hours at part 4. So lots and lots of information. I'm trying to think of everything I can possibly think of you might need to know, and it's supposed to be in those series. Nadia says, looking forward to breeding to one of your studs this fall. Great. Talk to Cody, he's our son. He's just using Hercules, a beautiful stud he is. Look at the contract on your page, but there is no Hercules on there. You're right. We are constantly adding dogs and changing what the studs that are available, and because of that we need to update stuff. Don't get worried about it. Just because it's not on there doesn't mean we don't have the dog. So and the contract is more there so that you can see what the terms and conditions are, so there's no surprises. So don't get too worried about this, but if you want to use one of our dogs and it's not on there, just write the name of the dog there and circle it, and that'll work too, and then we'll sign it and send it back. Here's a good one. DMO Don Dada says, with your product, do you have to use semen extender? Yes. The answer is, anytime that you want to store or ship semen, you need to have extender. And there is a lot of variation in the quality of extenders that you can get. The one that we sell on our website, My Breeder Supply, is Mini Tubes Canna Plus LT, or long term, which can keep semen alive for up to 10 days. It's a great product. And absolutely, anytime you want to keep semen, you know, because you're traveling, because you're shipping it, because you're sticking it in the fridge for a few days, you need to have extender with it. Straight Hustle Bullies, another question about extender. How long does the extender stay alive in the female? So this is, the extender is really there, the purpose of the extender is to give the correct balance, pH and nutrition for semen as it's being kept close to freezing while it's being stored.
I just did the wrong thing.
And you can probably go on to patch up on that.
That's all right.
Anyway, so what was the specific? Oh, so the question is, how long does it stay alive inside the female? Well, so the answer to this is that's not really the function of the extender. It's going to stay alive for typically, you know, there's a debate over this, a couple of days, and I think past that one's probably being hopeful. Joshua Lyon says, love seeing some of your gorgeous studs. Yes, and we're fixing to do more videos so we can get all the studs with a video of an updated video of every single stud that we've got. So 20 plus of them. So that's something we're waiting for cooler weather. The problem is when we do videos when it's 100 degrees outside, the dogs are just not really liking it. They like being in their cool air-conditioned areas, and they don't really like it being outside. Well, they do like being outside, but the problem gets to be is that they're panting like crazy. It doesn't look good. So we're waiting for some cooler weather, and that should be hopefully happening soon. Darren Brown does KBN but doesn't look brindle. I think what you're saying here is that you've got a dog that is a KB, but you don't see the brindle on it. Well, that absolutely can happen. So typically most dogs who have a single copy of brindle do show it. It's certainly there. It will be passed on to half the puppies that they produce. But you may have a hard time seeing it sometimes. Typically, if you have a hard time seeing it, you see it on their flank. You see those little striations somewhere on their flank that lets you know that the brindle, you know, is there. But if the DNA test, it says it's NKB, it has a copy of brindle with you. Unfortunately, it's there. All right, Trent M. Can you do a video about cream colored dogs and why there's so much variation in them?
I think you did do.
Yeah, I will.
Because cream covers everything.
Yeah.
Covers brindle, covers merle, covers tan points.
Yeah, we'll finish up these last two questions. Well, I mean, so part of the thing here that's going on is, like Tammy says, cream, a double E dog, a dog that's literally trying to get through to stop shaking, a dog that's literally should be cream, and it should cover everything else up, even if it's
shaking bad.
Yeah, even if it's pied. Yes. So, but cream itself comes in colours all the way from an apricot colour, which you know, that's a bit too dark.
Apricot.
Well,
Apricot. You say
tomato,
I say
tomato. Potato, apricot. How do you say it?
Wash and wash.
How do you say it?
Apricot.
Oh, excuse me. Apricot.
Apricot.
Okay. So,
like opera. Apricot.
I'd slap her, but it's on video and you'll all get a picture of it, so I can't do that, so I get sued. So
Y'all be my witnesses.
That's right. Yeah, crazy woman, apricot. So, well, let's talk, Tammy, about the colours of creams. What colours do you see in creams? What's the variation?
Oh, you can see like the apricot color, more of a beige, but it's still a cream.
Yeah, but it can be confusing because it can actually look like a fawn dog. You could confuse that with a fawn dog, couldn't you?
Okay, well, not really.
Well, she says not really. I say yes, but there you go. But I mean, so all the way from that colour there, I'm trying to find something that might be that colour in the car.
How about beige?
Yeah, I mean.
That's a beige.
Yeah, right. All the way through, almost white. Typically, if you see a dog.
Shirt's beige.
Yeah, yeah. So this would be a typical cream colour. If you see a dog that's, and it's in this light, it looks really white. If you see a dog that's really white, then lots of times that's actually an extreme pied, because pied is a white background. Cream is not. Cream typically is off-white through apricot, but it is affected by other genes like the intensity gene.
Champagne color.
Yeah. So if you've got a dog that's little e cream and it's 2 copies of intensity, it may look really white.
White.
And then so there was another mention there.
Bubelay's brother was white, where Bubelay's more of a cream color.
Yeah. Well, look at Nova and the puppies that she had. Pretty darn white.
Yeah.
Now we didn't the intensity gene, we've not tested for that, and the reason for this is because animal genetics that we use doesn't have a test for intensity yet. So I will find out, because I suspect that those dogs have 1 or 2 copies of intensity. Yeah. So then there's another question here that people have asked quite a bit about, and I really don't know the answer yet. We've got to be faces one, because we have a dog called Kit, and Kit is she's a Euro Hero. So a Euro Hero looks like a Shiba Inu dog colouring.
Kind of like where the tan points are, they're a cream points.
And it's on the inside underneath too, isn't it?
Right.
It's rather different. It's like taking a red dog, a red fawn dog,
Painting white.
and painting white on the underneath, blasting the underneath the dog with
Her
white.
eyebrows. She looks like an old dog.
Her cheeks are white. The underneath of her arms are white. Her belly's white. It's really, I love the color.
Yeah.
What do we do to get that color? Well, I think you probably need to breed back to at least another Euro Hero to get that. But this is again probably a combination of cream and intensity playing a factor in this. She's not a cream dog because you'd look totally cream, so she may have one copy of cream. I don't know. But I can tell you this: cream is all over the place. And the interesting thing about cream is it does cover up everything else that you can see. So a cream dog looks a solid cream color all the way through apricot. Now I have seen dogs that are actually pied to the cream pies that show some of the pie coming on. So, you know, I think it's true, but it's not completely true, I think. Anyway, okay, one last question here. Somebody's talking about they've got some slimy stuff coming out the back end of their dog, and it's 3 weeks before they're due, and they're worried about it. Tammy, you want to comment on that?
On what?
Green, clear slime coming out the back end of their dog.
Oh, that's usually your plug if they're pregnant, right?
Yep, mucus plug.
Mucus plug.
Mucus plug. So what's going on here? I
2
talked
weeks
about
to
this.
a week
Well,
before-
maybe even a month beforehand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on is the opening to the cervix has the dog produce some mucus, snotty kind of stuff, slimy stuff that covers that hole up. And the idea behind this is it stops any pathogens getting into the uterus. That's the purpose of it. That can fall out because the dog's very active, because the cervix dilates, which is typically what you see in the last week. And so then you see this kind of slimy stuff hanging off the dog's back end. And that can worry you that there's something's up. It's not. It's absolutely fine. You don't have to try and put something back in place. It just happens. Earlier on, it can be tinged with blood, so people can get worried that their dog is aborting, that they've got an abortion going on. So the thing to do in any of these situations, if you see something that's a bloody discharge on a dog that is pregnant, stick it in a crate for 24 or 48 hours. Don't let the dog bounce around. Lessen her activity.
That's what we did with Chanel's, because I know that's what she was doing. She had passed
Yeah,
a
she
couple
probably
of puppies. It was probably about that big around of a glob of
kind of tissuey type stuff.
tissuey, dark red, yeah.
Right.
And
Yep.
so we lessened her activity, and
Yep.
she ended up, I think Chanel found about 3 of those.
Yeah, so he probably had litter of 6 and she ended up litter of 3. But she
Yeah.
took it to term successfully, so it was all fine. But you can go to your vet, there's nothing they can do. They're all they're going to
It's
tell
just
you.
like a woman when she's pregnant and she's having complications, you do bed rest. Well, that's what you're doing with your
Yep.
French Bulldog female.
Which brings to the
that's
point,
pregnant.
what do you do in the last week? If you've got a dog that's really active, take it out on a leash. I wouldn't have a dog that's in the last
she's
week.
gonna run and jump and chase the ball that she loves so well,
Yeah.
or chase the cat.
Yeah,
You
chase the
want to
car.
lessen that activity to
Yep.
zilch.
Jump up and down off the bed and the sofa.
Oh.
Don't do that.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, I would lessen all those activities. I mean, it's what we do with humans, and we should do the same to the dogs. And the whole thing here is that you've got all these puppies attached to the placenta through umbilical cords, and if they start moving around, they could pull that placental cord.
Right.
You could get a detachment. If you get a detachment of the placenta, then typically what happens is just a little tear, and that produces a slight bloody discharge, which will worry you. If you see a tinge with green, that's of more concern, because that definitely is a placental tear. And if you see a lot of green discharge, then you've really got a problem on the horizon.
Yeah.
And that
infection.
is probably wise to have a vet take a look.
Or puppies.
Not sure exactly what the vet's going to do, but one of the things that they should do, I think, is do a blood test and find out if the progesterone level is dropping. Because if it is, that can cause a premature whelp, and you can stave that off by giving products that increase progesterone levels in dogs that got low progesterone.
Well, other good thing to have is anytime that you're expecting your female to come into heat, have a white towel that she lays on. And during pregnancy, have a white towel that she lays on. That way you can tell and detect any kind of bleeding or green showing up, that gives you a heads up.
Yeah, great idea. I mean, so
And
what's
you can bleach those white towels.
if you don't do that, they tend to lick themselves clean, don't they? If they've got
Or if they've got a playmate that keeps them clean. Yeah.
Right, if they've got a small discharge, you may never know it, and certainly you'd like to know that. So, like Tammy says, is to have some white bedding is a good idea. Yeah. Okay, there's a good 15 minutes. It was going to be a short video. It
I
ends
think
up being.
Walmart has them for like $2.
So you get yours
cheap towel, yeah.
Yeah, and
cheap
you just.
towels. Yeah.
Yep. And those are what, smaller towels, or are they regular size
They're
towels?
the regular size.
Yeah. And how much are they?
Like a couple of dollars.
Cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
What? And so you go get some of those smaller ones that you put in the incubator. So when we go to the vet, you've got.
Oh yeah, I get those. Yeah.
Those are like hand towels, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or flannels?
Well, you either call them face towels or hand towels. Which is it? What I call a wash rag is the small one that's usually by 6 by 8.
It's not a wash. It's
and wash rag. I call it a wash rag. If you're
Wash.
from Oklahoma, you say wash.
Wash.
But
There's an R in
anyway,
it. Go look at that at Walmart. It's spelled
But anyway,
W-A-R-S-H.
then you've got the
Wash.
longer ones that are like 14 inches long by 10 inches wide. You know, those, I don't know which one you call a face or a hand.
Yeah.
Towel.
So, excuse me.
Yeah.
They're basically, you know, a slightly lower sub-quality towel, but they're just as good for what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Like, get off the subject. I saw something on Facebook the other day where an old guy's talking to a woman and goes, "Oh, I just love your accent," because everybody always like, "Oh, James, I love your accent." And this one is a guy telling this woman, "I love your accent. Say wash rag again."
I've had that one.
Wash. You love my accent, don't you, honey? Wash rag.
Okay,
I
so
want to wash my dog.
what else we got to add to any of this? That's probably it, isn't it?
No, just my little dog that's still for sale.
Okay, no, let's say it again.
580-799-1910.
Okay.
Give me a call.
All right, so there we go. There's a good 70 minutes of your day completely ruined
Yeah.
watching stuff that you should be doing other things like cut the lawn or doing the dishes or doing the wash. I don't know what you should have been doing, not watching this. Anyway, here we go, everybody. Bye. Watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.